Hi guys, I'm James. I'm a junior here at Mac, and today I chose African Americans as my freshman group. Beginning back to the 1600s in Jamestown, Virginia, is where slavery really got its start, when the Dutch brought across 20 African slaves to help aid the economy of Jamestown, to help work in the tobacco crops. Slavery spread to the New World, America, very rapidly. There was at least 7 million slaves that were imported in the 18th century alone. The African lands were being deprived of their men, the most able-bodied, the most healthy men, to come help and aid our colony, our colony. In the late 18th century, there was an economic crisis. All the resources that were being used, the land that was being used for the tobacco crops was exhausted in the South, and this kind of created less of a demand for slave labor. And it started to boom again when England had a huge demand for cotton with the textile industry, and this sparked the invention of cotton gin by Eli Whitney, which most of you know. And it kind of created a new dependence for slave labor. Most of the slaves were in the South. There was 4 million by 1860. They mostly lived on plantations and smaller farms, and they were treated very badly. Most of the men were abused and beaten for disobedience and for going against the guidelines and the rules set forth by their masters. The women were as well, but they were more sexually abused than anything. There's certain prejudices and stereotypes of African American women especially. This is the Mamie caricature. It's pretty famous. It's been around for a long time. It came about during slavery. I think it was the first 100 years of slavery. And basically what it says, it depicts African American women as happy and content, and as you can see from the pictures, where she's smiling and most of them are even laughing. And it kind of just depicts them as happy slaves, more content slaves, which was definitely not the case. It also depicts African American women as obese. You can see in the bottom right picture with her eating the watermelon, and she later became the face for the Aunt Jemima. And you can see that she's wearing the typical headdress and apron and dress that African women were depicted to wear. Certain personal prejudices that I have, not necessarily that I still have these prejudices, but it's definitely something that I've felt in the past. I've always thought that African American men were more violent, more prone to aggressive acts, more involved in gangs and things like that. That they're uneducated. I feel like a lot of them are high school dropouts, or they don't attend college. That they're poor, that they're unemployed, that they have poor parenting skills, that they're lazy, raised in bad neighborhoods or inner cities, and that they have broken relationships with their family, especially with the fathers. I think there's a huge disconnect between fathers and sons, and most African American males, I feel like, are raised by single mothers or grandma or aunt or something like that. Personal discriminations, this is just a few examples that I'm gonna give. If I were walking alone at night, or maybe around campus or just wherever, if I saw an African American male approaching me, I think I'd be more cautious, more scared maybe, even feeling threatened, as opposed to a white American male. If I needed academic help, if I needed help on an exam or a study assignment or something along those lines, I feel like I would be more prone to go to a white American male or female as opposed to an African American male or female, just because I feel like they're not as educated or they're not as smart as or intelligent as white Americans. There's definitely cultural and other influences that have caused me to think this way, to hold these certain stereotypes and these prejudices. I think the big one is family. My dad instilled in me kind of the mindset of these things at a young age, just by his things that he said and his actions and things like that. I think socially there's a huge influence from your peers and friends. I think your friends have a huge impact on how you think and about other cultures and different races and things like that. It's pretty obvious in the news and media, as you can see in Ferguson, Missouri, with all the riots. All the looting, the violence, the crimes, the burning of the buildings, and things along those lines are mostly have been done by African American males. So that definitely doesn't help with these stereotypes. Goals and objectives that I have to help educate myself about like false stereotypes and help kind of debunk these kinds of things. I actually last night subscribed to educationweek.org, and it's an online website, and they have e-newsletters, and they have certain articles about different races, and one in particular I saw was for African Americans, and it was falsifying some of the stereotypes that people have against them, and it's just a lot of different editors and people submitting these kinds of articles. I interviewed a African American male last night. He actually goes to the school I played football with him for 3 years. His name is Dominic Prater. I asked him a bunch of questions. First one was, I asked him if he could describe the neighborhood he grew up in. He said he grew up in the country, and it was more the southern lifestyle. His favorite subject in high school was biology. He didn't attend college, didn't see it, obviously. I asked him what was most important to his parents. It was education for him to be successful in high school, college, and his future career. His first job was Pizza Hut. His family meant a lot to him, from what I gathered. He said that they were everything to him, his whole reason for living. He was never married. The accomplishment that he was most proud of was playing football. And these questions were really, really interesting because they kind of just dismantled some of the stereotypes that I have against African Americans. Uneducated, obviously not. He graduated high school, he's a senior in college, he'll be done next semester. Wasn't unemployed at one point. His parents obviously weren't bad at being parents. He didn't seem to have any kind of broken relationship with his family. He wasn't raised in a bad neighborhood. He grew up in the country in Mississippi. Didn't live in an inner city. Definitely not lazy. For athletes in the room, you know how hard it is to juggle academics and athletics at the same time. And for him to do that is just an amazing thing. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Oh, okay.